بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So as we've been in the previous nights reminding each other about the importance of brotherhood, and that Ibn Qudama rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned that there is a criteria as far as selecting a friend is concerned, and he mentioned 5 things. أن يكون عاقلا, that the friend that you choose should be aqil. He should be a sensible person, not a foolish person. Someone that is foolish, he might love you, he might want good for you, but because he's a foolish person, he could end up harming you. So that type of person, you can't have him as your close friend. Number 2, أن يكون عاقلا, أن يكون حسن الخلق, that he has good akhlaq. And then we spent 3 or 4 nights discussing the pillars of good akhlaq, good manners, and that they're based upon 4 pillars: clean chest for your brothers, control of your tongue, not being driven by your impulses, and keeping away from those things that don't concern you, keeping away from those things that you're not meant to give importance to. That's the second characteristic that is to be found in an ideal friend, that he should have good akhlaq. Number 2, that he is not a fasiq, he is not a sinner, an open sinner, someone that is known for sinning. Number 4, that he is not a mubtadi', he is not an innovator. And number 5, that he is not haris ala dunya, that he is not someone that is passionate over the dunya, overly passionate over the dunya, overly ardent over the dunya. So we spent a few minutes reminding each other about this matter here, about hirs over the dunya. The dunya is something that every single one of us, we have to have. We have to have. As Allah Jalla wa Ala, He said to the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, do not forget your portion of the dunya. So every single human being has to have a portion of the dunya. But the thing that is blameworthy is when you give precedence of the dunya over the akhirah. When you give priority to the dunya over the akhirah. When you forfeit aspects of your deen because of the dunya, that is when it becomes blameworthy. There are signs that show that your state is not healthy, your condition is not healthy concerning your balance of the deen and the dunya. As the Salaf said, من أحب شيئا أكثر من ذكره. Whoever loves a certain thing, he talks about it a lot, he mentions it a lot. That's a symptom of me being in love with the dunya, the blameworthy love, where I prefer it over the akhirah, in that is the thing that I talk about the most. That is the thing that I'm occupied with the most. That is the thing that I'm busied with the most. Whoever loves a certain thing, he talks about it a lot. The one that loves knowledge, you'll find him talking about it. The one that loves cars and houses and things of this nature, you'll find him talking about it a lot. The one that loves women, you'll find him talking about that subject a lot. The one that loves a certain sport, you'll find him talking about it a lot. No harm in talking about it. When it's the case that that is who you are, that is the thing that you talk about the most, the thing that you discuss the most, the thing that occupies your time the most, then it becomes blameworthy. When it is the case that a person, he stands in his salah, as soon as the Imam, he says Allahu Akbar, the mind starts thinking about the bills, the mind starts thinking about how much profit I've made today, the mind starts thinking about his cars, his houses, the mind is busy with the affairs of the dunya, that's a clear-cut sign that a person, he has become preoccupied with the dunya over and above the akhirah. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Uddat al-Sabirin, in there he has a section where he likens the dunya. He makes a personification of the dunya, meaning he likens the dunya to something that is real and concrete that we can relate to, right? He gives the example of a dunya. He gives several examples of the dunya. He says, وَأَشْبَهُ الْأَشْيَاءِ بِهَا كَذَا وَكَذَا. The dunya is like such and such and such a thing, right? He gives you an example of a concrete thing that you can relate to. So it hits home. The reality of the dunya hits home. One of the examples he gives is that he likens the dunya to a woman. Ibn al-Qayyim, he likens the dunya to a woman. He says the dunya is like a woman. He says, وَأَشْبَهُ الْأَشْيَاءِ بِهَا إِمْرَأَةٌ عَجُوزٌ شَوْحَاء قَبِيحَةُ الْمَنْظَرِ وَالْمَخْبَرِ. The dunya is like a woman, but not any type of woman, like an old woman. Like an old, ugly woman. This is the dunya. The dunya meaning, as Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, اعلموا أن هذه الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. This is the dunya. These are examples of what is on offer for you on the table. That you should know that the worldly life is nothing but play and amusement and mutual boasting between yourselves and amassing wealth and children. This is what the dunya is. Boasting between ourselves. Where do you have your, where do you live? Which part of the city do you live in? Oh, I live in such and such part of the city. What car do you have? Oh, you have that car. I have this car. How educated are your children? Oh, my children, they went to such and such a university in America or England. La'ib and lahu, play and amusement, play of the bodies and play of passage of time. So this is the dunya, the worldly matters. Zina, beautification, beautification of your clothes, beautification of your riding beasts, beautification of your houses, wealth, money, career. This is the package that is on offer for us. So Ibn al-Qayyim, he said that all of this, the dunya, it is like an old, ugly woman. An old, disfigured, ugly woman that has a vile appearance, an ugly appearance, and it has an ugly reputation. The dunya has an ugly, vile reputation. غَدَّارَةٌ بِالْأَزْوَاجِ. The dunya is like an old woman that is treacherous to her husbands. Whoever ends up marrying this old woman, the old woman is treacherous to him. Whoever marries the dunya is treacherous to that person. غَدَّارَةٌ بِالْأَزْوَاجِ تزينت للخطاب كل زينة وسترت كل قبيح. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says that the dunya beautifies herself. This old woman, meaning the dunya, beautifies herself with all forms of beautification and hides every ugly feature of hers. This is the dunya. The dunya in and of itself, it is not worth anything. It is not worth anything. That is why the Salaf said, إِنَّمَا سُمِّيَتَ الدُّنْيَا لِأَنَّهَا دَنِيَّةٌ. The dunya is being called this name, dunya, because it's daniyya. It's low. It has no value. So this dunya, in reality, it is ugly. It is not beautiful. But it beautifies itself to us. It puts up the makeup of beauty in front of us. It puts the camouflage of beauty in front of us. It beautifies itself to us. And this dunya, this old woman. When the marriage suitor comes to the dunya, when the fiancé comes to the dunya, when the mangeter, as you say in Urdu, comes to the dunya to marry the dunya, then the dunya, what does it say? The dunya, what does it say? When somebody is passionate over the dunya, wants the dunya, what does the dunya say? This treacherous dunya, this dunya that deceives you, this dunya that makes itself look so nice, but when you really get into the nitty-gritty of the dunya, you realize it wasn't all that. What does the dunya, what does this old woman, old ugly woman that makes herself look so beautiful, what does she say to the marriage suitor, to the fiancé? The marriage suitor, as Ibn al-Qayyim, he said, فَآثَرَ الْخَاطِبَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. The marriage suitor, he wants something that is instantaneous, what he can get right now. Because the dunya says to him that me, the dunya, and the akhirah, we are co-wives. The dunya says to you, the marriage suitor that is coming to marry the dunya says to you that me and the akhirah, we are co-wives. We are two wives. And us being married to the same man cannot be possible. Cannot happen, cannot be allowed, cannot be possible. So then Ibn al-Qayyim, he said that the marriage suitor, the mangeter, the one that is after the dunya, athara al-ajila. He wants what is now. He wants what is instantaneous. And he said, لَيْسَ عَلَى مَنْ وَاصَلَ حَبِيبَتَهُ مِنْ جُنَاحٍ. There's no blame on the one that wants to be with his beloved. I love the dunya. I love this career. I love this job. And I know that I'm going to have to forfeit things about my deen for this job, for this career. But listen, I've wanted this career since I was 8, for 18 years. I wanted this job for 18 years. And now I found out it's haram. لَيْسَ عَلَى مَنْ وَاصَلَ حَبِيبَتَهُ مِنْ جُنَاحٍ. There's no blame on the one that wants to be with his habiba, with his beloved. But then Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, so now the man is married to the dunya. The man is married to this old, disgusting, ugly, vile, treacherous woman who makes herself look really beautiful. The man's got married to her, meaning the man's got married to the dunya. Then Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, فَلَمَّا إِنْكَشَفَ قِنَاعُهَا وَحَلَّ إِزَارُهَا إِذَا بِكُلِّ بَلِيَّةٍ. When the marriage suitor, when he's with this old woman and he takes her veil off and he unties her skirt, meaning when the person marries the dunya, prefers the dunya over the akhirah, and then when he gets to see the dunya for what it really is, then there is nothing except baliyah, except affliction in front of him, except harm in front of him, except baliyah, trial and affliction and disaster in front of him. Then Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, then you've got two types of people. We've all been most likely in this situation in our lives, where we ended up falling short, and we ended up giving precedence and preference to the dunya over the akhirah. Perhaps all of us have gone through that time in our lives. At that stage, a person is one of two types. Man طَلَّقَهَا وَاسْتَرَاحَ. The one who divorced this old woman. He sees how ugly she is. He sees how vile she is. He sees how much of a treacherous person this woman is. She made herself look out as she was very beautiful, very nice. The dunya made itself look as though it was very nice, very beautiful. You're going to be satisfied when you get the dunya, she said to you. You're going to be happy and content. You will have made it. The dunya said to you, when you get her. Now when you've got the dunya, now when you've hit the peak, you've realized it wasn't all that. It's horrible, in fact. It's nasty. It's disgusting. I was better in the situation that I was in before I had this dunya. So there are those people who, when they get that dunya and they realize, oh, what was the point? Why did I forsake my deen, forfeit my deen, become weak in my deen for this ugly dunya? At that stage, there are those people, طَلَّقَهَا وَاسْتَرَاحِ. They divorce the dunya and they relax. They are at ease. Alhamdulillah, I've learned my lesson. I gave ithar of the dunya over the akhirah. I gave preference of the dunya over the akhirah, but I've learnt my lesson. I've divorced it. I've got rid of that dunya. But then there's that second man. There's that second person who wants to stay, who wants to remain, who becomes an addict of the dunya. He becomes a jarsi of the dunya. He becomes an addict of the dunya. He wants the dunya. He realizes that it's not all that, but he prefers to stay. He's become an addict of the dunya. فَمَا اسْتَتَمَّتْ لَيْلَةَ عُرْسِهِ إِلَّا بِالْعَوِيلِ وَالصِّيَاحِ. And so his first marriage night didn't get completed except with lying, except with screaming and crying, wailing and weeping. The person who loves the dunya and prefers it over the akhirah, and then he gets a big smack in his face and he realizes what the dunya is about, that type of person still stays with the dunya. That type of person, he's gonna be in nothing but pain in this life. Look at the multi-millionaires, the multi-billionaires of this time, how their lives are a mess, how their lives are an absolute mess. They're not happy. But all of us may have seen people who have nothing, living in mud huts, having no utilities like gas and electricity, yet they are happy and satisfied with their life. The ulama, when you look at some of them and how they lived, they were happy and satisfied with their life. Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he didn't live in a house that had brick walls and cemented walls and a mud hut. He lived in a mud hut, but happy and content with his life. He says in his introduction to Al-Musnad al-Sahih, he says in there that when I open up Sahih al-Bukhari, this is a man who's poor, this is a man who lives in a mud hut, this is a man who lived at a time when there would have been very, very little electricity in his village. And when you drink water, you get stones, you get kidney stones. That's normal. Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, in his introduction to Al-Musnad al-Sahih, he says in there that when I open Sahih al-Bukhari, and I read Haddathana Fulan, I read the chains of narration, I read the ahadith of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, all of the troubles of my day, they go away. All of my toil and labor of the day, it goes away. This is some of the ulama who had very little of the dunya. Very little of the dunya. They're happy and content and satisfied with their lives. Why? Because the dunya lies to you. The dunya says, I am going to give you satisfaction. But it doesn't give you satisfaction at all. The pinnacle of what gives you satisfaction is beneficial knowledge and righteous action. That's the pinnacle of satisfaction in life. That is why the poet, he said, is the Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. He mentions in his Riyadh al-Salihin that the poet said, Inna lillahi ibadan futana. Indeed, to Allah belongs intelligent slaves. Why are they intelligent? طَلَّقُوا الدُّنْيَا وَخَافُوا الْفِتَنَا. They disconnected from the dunya. They literally divorced the dunya, fearing its temptations, meaning they divorced themselves from the haram of the dunya, and that dunya that may affect their akhirah. نَظَرُوا فِيهَا فَلَمَّا عَلِمُوا أنها ليست لحي وطنا جعلوها لجة واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا. These people, intelligent people, divorced the dunya, fearing its temptations. They looked inside the dunya, and when they came to realize that the dunya is not a homeland for a person that's really alive, then they transformed the dunya into a sea, and they made their righteous deeds as ships by which they sail upon that sea into the afterlife. So the point is that yes, when you look for a friend, he shouldn't be harisan ala dunya. He should not be overly passionate over the dunya, but likewise it's a reminder for myself and then everybody else that we should likewise look at ourselves and investigate our souls and see, are we giving precedence of the dunya over the akhirah? If we are, then that is something that is dangerous, and it is something that will result in nothing but absolute regret and absolute dissatisfaction. So we'll suffice with that. Allahu ta'ala a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So the previous night we discussed the matter concerning the dunya. We reminded each other concerning the dunya, and we brought that statement from Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, where he compares the dunya to an old woman, that is ugly and that is treacherous, that is ghaddara. She's treacherous, she's not loyal to you. That is what the dunya is like. It's not really that beautiful, it makes itself look beautiful, and it's treacherous. The promise that the dunya makes to you, it fails in fulfilling that promise when you end up preferring it over the akhirah. So as we said, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he makes several examples, several comparisons between, not comparisons, but several personifications, meaning he says that the dunya is like such and such a thing. And he does that in order for the idea to hit home, for you to be able to visualize it, for you to be able to relate to it properly. So we'll mention another example that he makes of the dunya as a form of summary, supplementation to what we said last lesson, or last night. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that the man who is in this dunya is like a man who is going on a journey, and he has 3 brothers. So basically, the one that is leaving the dunya, the one that is going to pass away, the one that will die, the one that is dying, the one that is about to die, he is like a person who is going on a journey, a long journey, and he has 3 brothers, and so he speaks to these 3 brothers of his. So he says to the first brother, or rather he says to the 3 brothers, that as you can see, I'm gonna go on my journey now. I'm going to go on my journey, and the time that I needed you the most was now. I'm gonna go on my journey, and the time that I needed you 3 brothers of mine the most was now. So one of the brothers, he says, أنا كنت أخاك إلى هذه الحال ومن الآن فلست لك بأخ ولا صاحب وما عندي غير هذا. So the first brother, he says that I was a brother for you to this point. I was a brother for you until this point. But from now onwards, I'm not a brother for you. I'm not a companion for you. And I've got nothing else to offer you except that. I was your brother before. I was your companion before. But that was before. Now you're going on this long journey and you need me. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm no longer a companion for you, and I can't offer you anything except this. So the man, he says to this brother, "Lam tughni anni shay'a." You've been of no use to me. You have been no use to me. You're useless. You've not helped me, not benefited me in anything. You've been of no use to me. That's one brother. Second brother, ma indak. You say to the second brother of yours, what do you have? Are you going to help me? I'm going on a long journey right now. And now is when I really need your help. So the second brother says, I was your brother. I was your companion. I was your friend until now. And I'm going to be with you. I am going to be with you. I am going to get you ready. I am going to prepare you for your journey. I'm going to put you on your riding beast. I'll put you in the vehicle. I'll put you on the riding beast. I will help you get ready for your journey. But then from that point, I am no longer a companion for you. And so you say to this brother of yours, أنا محتاج إلى مرافقتك في مسيري. I need your company in my journey. I need your companionship in my journey. I need you with me. I need you physically with me. But this second brother of yours, he said, لا سبيل لك إلى ذلك. There's no way I can do that for you. There's no way that I can do that for you. And so what do you say to the second brother? لم تغني عني شيئا. You've been of no use to me. You're useless. You've not been of any benefit to me. Now he turns to the third brother. You turn to the third brother. And you say to him, ما عندك أنت. What do you have? What do you have to offer? You've seen what the other two brothers said. This one said, he was a brother for me before, but now he doesn't know me. Now he's got nothing to do with me. You've seen what the second brother said. I told him I need him on my journey. I need him, and that now is when I need him the most. And what does he say? He says, I'll get you ready for your journey. I'll prepare you for your journey. I'll put you on your riding beast. But then after that, I don't know you anymore. And I said to him, I need your companionship on my journey. He said, there's no way possible for you to get that. So what do you, the third brother, have to offer? So the third brother said, كنت صاحبك في صحتك ومرضك وأنا صاحبك الآن وصاحبك إذا ركبت وصاحبك في مسيرك فإن سرت سرت معك وإن نزلت نزلت معك وإذا وصلت إلى بلدك كنت صاحبك فيها لا أفارقك أبدا. This is your third brother. This is your third friend. When you say to him, what do you have to offer? Then the third friend, he says to you, I was your companion in sickness and in health. And I'm your companion right now. And I'm going to be your companion when you get on your riding beast. And I'm going to be your companion on the journey. Wherever you go, I am going to go with you. When you disembark, when you get off the riding beast, if you stop somewhere, I'll get off with you. I'll stop with you. When you get to your destination, I'm going to be your companion there as well. I'm never going to leave you. So then you say to this brother of yours that you were the one that I looked down upon the most. You were the least important of my three companions. You were the one that I bothered less about. I didn't care about you. وكنت أؤثر عليك صاحبيك. I preferred your other two brothers over you. I gave importance to your other two brothers over you. فَلَيْتَنِي عَرَفْتُ حَقَّكَ وَآثَرْتُكَ عَلَيْهِمَا. If only I knew your haqq, if only I knew the haqq that I should have given you, O third brother, and if only I preferred you over my other two brothers. So who are these three brothers? The first brother, the one that abandons you straight away at that point, the one that abandons you when you're dying, the one that leaves you and has nothing to do with you when you're departing from this world. That's your mal, that's your wealth. That's the thing that I, maybe others, we end up falling short in at times in giving precedence and preference to. But this thing, this dunya, this wealth, this money, these material matters, they are gonna forsake me. They're gonna forsake you. They're gonna abandon you. They're gonna run away from you. Once your time comes to leave the dunya, they will have nothing to do with you. That's mal. That's wealth. That's how loyal wealth is to you. That's how loyal material matters are to you. Very disloyal. Number two, that second brother, the one who prepares you for your journey, gets you ready for your journey, puts you on your riding beast on your journey, bids you farewell, but doesn't accompany you on your journey. He doesn't accompany you on your journey. Who is that? That's your family. That's your relatives. That's those people that are close to you, that you love, your family, your relatives. And it's true, isn't it? Your family, when you pass away, when you die, when you leave this world, they will be there. They will be there. Who's gonna take your body from the hospital if you pass away in a hospital? It's gonna be your family. It's gonna be your son. It's gonna be your brother maybe. It's gonna be your cousin. It's gonna be your family that's gonna take your body from the hospital and then take it to the morgue or take it to the place where they're gonna wash it. Who's gonna wash your body for you? Your family's gonna wash your body, inshallah ta'ala. Your son is gonna wash your body perhaps. Your cousins, your brothers, they're gonna wash your body. So can you see how your family, they are going to prepare you on this journey that you're gonna go. This very, very long journey that you're gonna go on. Your family is gonna prepare you for it. Your son, your uncle perhaps, your grandson perhaps, are gonna lower you in the grave. They're helping you so that you have a burial with dignity. They bury you. They put the soil upon your body. They fill your grave with the soil. So can you see how your family, they are making some preparations for you in your journey. After that, are your family going to be with you? No. You might want some companionship, especially for the one for whom the reality after he leaves the dunya is going to be awful. For him, he's going to want some type of good companionship, some happiness. But your family, they will not be able to be there for you. The only thing, the only one, the only companion that you had in this life, and that is going to follow you into your grave, follow you into the akhirah, follow you into your afterlife, is your deeds. That third brother is your deeds. Your deeds accompany you right now. What you do of good deeds, what you do of evil deeds, obviously they are accompanying you here while you're in this realm. When you leave, when you go into your grave, then your deeds will accompany you there. What you receive in your grave of bliss or punishment, that is a result of your deeds. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, when you stand in front of Allah Jalla wa Ala, then what is it that you're going to be punished for? If a person is punished, what will you be rewarded for? As a result of what you did in this life, your actions in this life. And the person that is rewarded with Jannah, And the person that is rewarded with Jahannam, why is he being rewarded with that? Because he was in this life, he did certain actions, he made certain intentions, he had certain objectives which he pursued, his deeds, his actions. As a result of that, he will be entered into one of the two abodes. So you can clearly see how your actions are the main thing that we should be giving preference to and precedence to. Righteous actions, keeping away from evil actions, over and above the dunya and our families. Our families, we give them their right. Our wives, our children, our relatives, we give them their right. But if it is the case that they become an obstacle, if it is the case that we are at a junction where a person's being tested in giving precedence to family over religion, family over deen, family over listening to Allah and obeying Allah, then you have to give precedence to obeying Allah over the family, because your family, they're only going to be with you and for you to a certain point, after which they won't know you. The only thing that is going to accompany you are your deeds. Your righteous deeds are what's going to benefit you. Don't be from those people who very soon, once they've departed from this life, don't be from those people that are going to say, woe unto me. Don't be from those people who are going to be in regret. Why did I not give preference and precedence and ithar, precedence of my deeds over my mal and over my family, over my wealth and over my family? And no doubt this is something that requires, it is not easy, it requires mujahada. It requires jihad, true jihad. Not the jihad, because the term jihad is a term that has been hijacked by the extremists of our time, like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They have the incorrect understanding of jihad. Jihad on the battlefield in a legitimate war situation, a conventional war situation for a legitimate cause, that is a form of jihad. But jihad is a broad term that covers many forms. And among the forms of jihad, and the most important forms of jihad, without this jihad, there is really no other true jihad. That is the jihad of the soul. The most important jihad is the jihad of the soul. Striving with your soul, striving in attaining beneficial knowledge, striving in acting upon that knowledge, striving in preaching and communicating and teaching and sharing that knowledge and being patient in that regard. That is the primary form of jihad. And therefore part and parcel of jihad of the soul is that you prefer the akhirah over your wealth and material matters, and you prefer the akhirah, and you prefer the Jannah, and you prefer the ru'yah of Allah, seeing Allah, that you prefer that over wealth, over family, over material matters. That requires mujahada, that requires striving. And perhaps in another session we will perhaps speak about that. We'll suffice with that. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
किसी के जो पेरेंट हैं उनके घर पे मुनकरात है, म्यूजिक है, पता नहीं है, तो ऐसे बेटे या बेटी को अपने पेरेंट के घर पे विजिट करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए? अगर उनके घर पे मुनकरात है, पता भी नहीं करते, ऐसे टेलीफोन पर
I mean, Allahu A'lam, I can't give specific advice for a person's specific situation. You'll have to ask somebody more knowledgeable. The question is that if it's the case that you, your parents, they have evil and munkarat in their house, like music, and like drinking, whatever, maybe music and things like this, munkarat, then are you allowed to go to their house? Should you go to their house, or should you just suffice with talking to them and advising them on the phone? I can't give specific advice for a person's specific situation, generally I can give you the advice of fear Allah as much as you are able, and no doubt you are not allowed to cut off ties of kinship from your family. Do your best in making a jump between the two. Do your best in harmonizing both affairs, keeping away from the munkarat. Yes, there is I do recall a fatwa from Shaykh Ubaid hafidhahullah ta'ala that you don't take your children there. If you know that there's going to be evil that's going to affect your children, then don't take your children there. Doesn't mean that you cut your children off from their relatives. You have to make silat al-rahim. You have to join the ties of kinship. And true joining of the ties of kinship, as the ulama have mentioned, the true joining of ties of kinship that carries the great reward is that you go after and you try to join the ties of kinship with the one that cuts off from you. That's the real joining of ties of kinship. That's the most virtuous form of joining the ties of kinship. Never ever can you cut off from the ties of kinship. For indeed for that there is severe punishment on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah Ta'ala will say to Ar-Rahim, because Ar-Rahim will say, the Rahim meaning the ties of kinship, they will say to Allah, my Lord, I was oppressed. My Lord, I was oppressed. Rahim, ties of kinship, will take a form and will say to Allah that I was oppressed, meaning people cut off from me. People cut off the ties of kinship. So then Allah Ta'ala will say to the ties of kinship, are you not pleased that I cut off from those that cut off from you? So we are not saying at all that cut your children off from their relatives, from their grandparents. But I can't give you specific advice. But generally, from what I recall of Shaykh Ubaid al-Jabri mentioning, that you prevent your children from that evil environment. And then in addition to that, fear Allah as much as you are able. See if you can harmonize the two. See if you can keep away from the munkarat as much as you are able, but at the same time keep that tie of kinship. Keep joining those ties of kinship, because at the end of the day, regardless of how hard and harsh they are, very unlikely, especially for those that live in the Muslim countries, that what you face, and Allah knows best, it's very unlikely that what you face is going to be similar to what some of the companions and many of the companions faced when they ended up believing in the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, and thus they were driven out of their homes. Some of them, they were detained at home in chains. Some of them were tortured by their family members because of them believing in Allah. So a person, he should fear Allah Ta'ala as much as he is able. Do not cut off from the ties of kinship. Do your best to keep away from the munkarat and from the evils. Be patient, because just like some of those companions, they were kicked out of their homes by their parents and their family members because of them believing in Islam. But then those very same parents, some of them, those very same parents later on ended up testifying La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah and embraced Islam. So those people that fought against the Messenger of Allah, if Allah opened up their hearts, then Allah Ta'ala, He can open up the heart of your father or your mother or your uncle or your auntie perhaps, if they are being harsh with you and hard with you. I remember asking our Shaykh Abu Iyad hafidhahullah ta'ala wa ra'ah a similar question many years ago about relatives and what have you, because some of them, they did not want to accept this sunnah. And so he gave the same advice of being patient, keep the ties of kinship, be patient, have good manners with them. Maybe not now, but maybe 5 years down the line you will see they come to the deen, they'll come to the sunnah, they'll come to salafiyah, and that is what happened, alhamdulillah. So I can't give you specific advice for that. You need to speak to somebody senior like our Ustadh Tariq or Ustadh Zubair or Ustadh Sheikh Abu Khatija, but I can just give you general advice. Fear Allah as much as you're able. See if you can harmonize the two, and don't cut off the ties of kinship. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.